So what happens when you put Godzilla, Ghidora, Anguirus, Battra, Kumonga, Mechagodzilla, and Lady Gaga in one graphic novel? And no, that's not a joke. There is no punchline. That is literally what happens here. Hi, and welcome back to the Inside of My Head, where in this vid, we're looking at Godzilla, Kingdom of Monsters. So this is going to be the first of 3 reviews looking at the IDW Godzilla series, starting with Kingdom of Monsters, then looking at Godzilla Ongoing, then Rulers of Earth. Now this was suggested by friend of the channel, David Brown. Thanks for that, buddy. And if you have any suggestions, get them in the comments below. So let's get stuck right in. Kingdom of Monsters began its run in 2012 and features a monster roll call that even GSP would gawk at, featuring Ghidora, Mechagodzilla, Rodan, Battra, Anguirus, and more. It starts with Godzilla rising from beneath the sea off the coast of this small island called Nijima and heading towards Tokyo Bay. Of course, the typically clueless politicians quickly resort to nuclear weapons to bail them out, but surprise, surprise, it doesn't kill the big G, but instead enables him to breathe fire, and he goes on a rampage through Tokyo. Soon after that, amongst a field of recently dead cows, I once saw a video with a dead cow. Do not finish that sentence! Anguirus bursts up out of the ground in Mexico, while in Moscow, an earthquake, followed by the sudden death of all the birds in the sky, gives this here thieving little bastard the opportunity to steal what is believed to be a meteorite from the museum he's visiting. Lo and behold, the rock crumbles open to reveal an egg, which hatches open and pops out a baby Rodan, which eats his cat and flies away. On the Texas-Mexico border, we have an old-fashioned Texan governor, Stetson and all, who thinks that building a wall will keep out those pesky invaders, and well, you can see how that worked out right here, and funnily enough, he turns around and blames the Democrats, which I gotta admit made me chuckle. There's another funny part in here with this one character who's hell-bent on avenging the death of his kids. You see, they just happen to be playing on that island where Godzilla first awoke and were inadvertently killed. So this guy straps on every explosive he can find onto his torso, climbs atop the nearest high-rise and throws himself at the big G, yelling, "Die!" And G-Man just goes, and carries on about his business. And it's funny because even though there hasn't really been a central human character yet, if you had to pick one, it would be this guy. And this happening here, him just being snuffed out with a little sizzle, just shows how tiny and inconsequential humans are to our big buddy here. Then we cut to France and meet the creepy twins. They don't speak, not to other people anyway, but they do speak to each other telepathically, and they can conjure up an image of this creature in this kid's mind to freak him the out. And on top of that, they find this giant egg just sitting on a beach, and let's just analyze this for a sec. Evil twins with mind power find a giant monster egg. This is clearly headed direct to Shitsville and fast. And as we see in a few pages, these two twins are pretty powerful as they kill a whole platoon of soldiers who try and take the egg before it hatches into the larval form of Batra. And I love the way these things look. I spoke about it in my 5 things I want to see in GSP Season 2 vid, and I just want to say that I never get tired of looking at this thing. We get another one of Kingdom of Monsters' social commentary moments as Lady Yaya, wonder who that could be a reference to, does a show in a lizard outfit to protest for kaiju rights. And it really is the dumb shit that would actually happen in real life, isn't it? I mean, we have a gargantuan monster running around smashing through cities and killing thousands, and no, oh, you can't kill it. It's an animal, it has feelings. Later on, 2 survivors find her dead body under some rubble and start poking it in the face and laughing. Like poker face, get it? I mean, I raised a smile. I thought that was amusing. Of course, the evil twins use their mind powers to control Batra and take over Paris as Godzilla heads for America to fight Anguirus in LA. Godzilla defeats Anguirus but doesn't kill him, so the military propose to blast LA with a poison gas in the hopes of finishing him off. Oh, fuck hell, these guys. What these geniuses didn't bank on was that after the gas had been deployed, Anguirus could simply stand up on its hind legs to raise its head out of the gas cloud, and what a bunch of morons. Batra makes a cocoon for himself on the Eiffel Tower when we meet this guy, Sergeant Woods. He realizes that right before the appearance of one of the monsters, all the birds or rats or bugs or whatever in the area drop down dead. A fact that he notices just in time to realize that he's standing right on the spot that Kumonga bursts out of. I think if a thing this size burst up from under the ground like beneath you, you'd have to run like a mile to get away from the debris, wouldn't you? So often in these movies and these graphic novels, they just like jump to the side and then they're safe. Like, what the f? Realizing that they're not getting anywhere in repelling the monsters, the president announces the construction of, yes, you guessed it, Mechagodzilla to mount some kind of defense that doesn't just fall flat and generally just make us look ridiculously incompetent as a species. Trouble is, after they go to the whole trouble of building the thing, after it's launched and the remotely piloted mecha attacks Godzilla for the first time, Godzilla manages to hit it with an atomic blast from behind, where apparently they never bothered insulating it against Godzilla's nuclear attacks. This hit sent Mechagodzilla haywire and its AI kicks in, blasting it off into the sky, and it promptly starts attacking the city of Atlanta. So they just sent this huge, heavily weaponized killing machine out there without some kind of kill switch, without some kind of failsafe, without some kind of backup plan. Like if it goes rogue, I don't know what I can do. So once again, the humans have made things so much worse. Not only do we have Anguirus, Rodan, Kumonga on the rampage, Batra under the influence of a pair of evil fucking twins, Godzilla cutting a swathe of destruction across the North American continent, but on top of all that, we have Mechagodzilla that has gone rogue. Thanks, humans. And so that is the first half of the series done so far. I've enjoyed Kingdom of Monsters without it ever bowling me over as amazing. It was okay, it was more or less solid, bar the poison gas staff thing that I mentioned, which is pretty ludicrous considering that there were still people in the city when the military decided to release the poison. The art style is okay, the story is pretty good, not great, just okay. But it did keep me turning the pages, I've got to say. There's still the unanswered question of what causes all the cows or birds or insects or whatever to die before the monsters appear, which if I was to hazard a guess, I would say it might be the radiation emitted from the creatures, but I don't really know. Whether they'll tackle this, I hope they do. The thing that would make most people pick up a novel like this was, monster fights. That's what people want from this kind of stuff, right? And I think that people will generally forgive a lot of misgivings if it's satisfying in terms of big monster action. So is this? Nah, not really. There's a few humorous moments that made me chuckle, the ones that I've mentioned already, but also there's one bit where a guy in Russia, and he's doing research or something, and he has a eureka moment and exclaimed that he solved the mystery of where the monsters came from, and he runs out onto the streets flapping his arms around going, "Oh, I did it, I know where they come from," before being flattened by Rodan. And I think that this is a poke at the fact that question of where these creatures come from is never really going to get answered in this series, and hey, it made me laugh. Although, now that I think about it, there was one important scene that I haven't mentioned where this old guy watching a news report on the appearance of the monsters turns to these two, and of course we know that these are the Mothra girls, and he says that this is not the way it was supposed to happen, or something to that effect. So perhaps the question of the monster's origin might come into play again later. I would have loved for Burning Godzilla to be in it more. He's only in it for 1 or 2 panels, and then he doesn't really do anything with his newly gained ability, and it wears off pretty quick. So I'm going to put out part 2 of the video in a couple of days, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, because that one starts with the awakening of a certain extraterrestrial 3-headed dragon. So until then, let me kindly invite you to get out of my head, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and cheerio, bye!